whatever it happens to be. If you're on the East Coast, you're at lunchtime. So we're going to have lunch together. For me, I just finished a late breakfast. Had an early start to the day. Beautiful outside, sunny. I was outside doing some work and it was awesome. Absolutely loved it. That's the best time in the day. I just love it. So let me know you can hear me. I see Brenda saying hi there, but let me know that the audio is coming through, please. Loud and clear. Excellent. Yeah, that's what we're looking for. All right. Linda, how are you, my dear? Good to see you as well, everybody. Okay, so as we always do, we're going to open up the class with a reminder on the disclaimer. And the disclaimer is always going to be something that is, let's see, please don't forget to share your screen. Right. I'm doing that. I'm just doing an introduction here, so no worries. We'll do this first and we'll say start slideshow. And there you go. Now, are you guys seeing full screen? Andrea? Yes. Okay. Thank you. That's all I needed. All righty. So here's our disclaimer. And it simply points out that I am not going to be giving you any specific advice on any particular trades. I'm not a registered broker or an investment advisor. I used to be, but that's a different story. That's by choice, by the way. But please recognize that everything we talk about, especially when we go to charts and we talk about specific stocks, we'll do some charting today. We'll talk about strategy, entry and exit points, patterning, all those kind of good things. But it's all for educational purposes. It is not meant to be taken as advice on any particular trade, and you all should know that. So having given you enough time to read through this and hitting the high points, we will move on. Rob does an amazing job. Oh my gosh. I know what this takes. I don't have it in me to do it. I don't have the inclination or the impetus to do it right now. I've got too many irons in the fire. I'm very, very busy for being quote unquote retired or semi-retired, semi by choice. I'm never going to sit in a rocking chair, but I am so busy now that I'm sort of retired. It's worse than it was before, but we soldier on, right? But I know what it takes to create content and to keep value in front of you. And so I salute Rob for the amazing amount of effort and the team that it takes to put this together. So I advise you to take advantage of everything coming up. Very valuable. Can't say enough. Okay. Here's one of the classes coming up. Tony, my good friend, always providing content for you guys as well. Take advantage of it. Free training, save your seat. All right, today's subject. Oh, I look up and see Glenn says, as long as you're enjoying yourself, your life is all that matters. I agree. I agree. Let's see. I guess that's the link that was just put up for what, Tony's class? Is that what it is? Huh. Anyway. So today's subject, the punch that knocks you out is the one that you do not see coming. Guys, having been involved in martial arts and having had some combat experience, this is just a truth, man. It's a fact of life that if you see it coming, there's usually something you can do about it. You can wince, you can duck your chin, you can, tighten muscles, you can get at least a hand in front of it to soften the impact. But the one that gets you is the one you didn't see coming. that's the one you didn't see coming. And so you never know. You got to go back and watch the film or ask somebody what happened. And they'll tell you why it just came out of it. Man, I didn't see it. Exactly. Exactly. Now, just I don't know if from a physiological standpoint, this is just an aside. Um, okay, so somebody's saying you've seen my presenter view. Um, that's what I asked before. Let me try this again. And said that we see it. So obviously we weren't looking at the right one. I thought we were. Let's see. Let's try this one. All right, now tell me. The chat where I can see the chat again. There we go. Okay. All right, that's what we're looking for. If you, from a physiological standpoint, how do people get knocked out? Some people will say, well, you get hit in the head and your brain smashes side to side so hard that it goes lights out. And that's true, but it's actually pretty hard to do because your head's pretty strong, your neck can absorb the strength, and people take shots to the head all the time. So why doesn't every shot to the head knock somebody out? Well, because it just that's a unique and extremely hard thing to do, is to just hit somebody with a boxing glove in the side of the head and actually knock them out. But if you look at this poor fellow right here that is definitely going out, you'll look at something, and what happens is at the back of your jaw, if you take your finger and you go to and touch your earlobe and then just go down slightly, maybe a half an inch, and press in, you'll feel the back of your jaw where it turns up. Your jaw goes along your teeth, and then it turns up. Where it turns up there on either side of your head, behind there is a nexus, and a nexus is like a bundle. So you could have 30 wires running through your house, but if they all eventually have to go through one hole to get to the electrical panel, that would be a nexus where all those wires go through a hole. And that's effectively what happens on either side of your neck. There's a collection of nerves that is a collection of thousands of them that bundle up, and they travel up behind the jaw up into the brain, into the brainstem. When you hit the jaw, either straight on, right below your teeth, straight on, or at an angle where one side or the other side shifts radically, that jawbone will slam back and it smashes into those wires. Now, if you had a bunch of electrical wires, they're all shielded with plastic around them, and all of a sudden you smashed into them to where a bunch of them touched, you'd get a short, and you'd have an electrical that would just, you would have a huge flash of light, and all the circuits would go out. It's a big short. And that's what happens when you smash all those nerves with the jawbone going back into them. It's lights out. Your brain can't handle that much stimulus all at once, and it shuts down. The lizard brain, the part of your brain that doesn't let you die from that, does a quick inventory and checks to see if there's any permanent damage, and it realizes no, it was just a short. So it throws the circuit breaker, and things start to spin back up, and you gain consciousness and you wake up. But for a while, everything shuts down while your primitive brain goes about checking to make sure that this wasn't a catastrophic shutdown, and that your whole body isn't just gone through a trauma. No, it wasn't. It was just a big short, and it tripped all the breakers at one time. Isn't that interesting? I know, not necessarily relative to today, but it kind of is. And let me tell you why. Trading triggers emotions in you that are very, very powerful and very primitive. You are born with two fears, and two fears only. Everything else you learn, all the fears and limitations you have in your life, are limited only because you believe them and because you continue to believe them. All of the things that restrict you in your life are self-imposed and self-maintained. Self-imposed because you chose to believe it at some point, self-maintained because you continue to believe it. Okay. When you trade, you are working, you are doing an activity that will trigger some of your core fears. Again, you're born with two fears: loud noise and the fear of falling, both of which tend to paralyze most people. Almost everybody, when they start to fall, their arms go out and they panic, and anything else that they were doing, I mean, anything that they were thinking about working on, suddenly, instantly goes out the window. You are no longer consciously thinking about the book you were reading or watching a bird across the street in a tree do some funny thing. All of that instantly goes out because you're falling. And that fear that never leaves you, the fear of falling or the fear of loud noises, interrupts you. It's a startle reflex and it shorts everything out. Okay, that's a core level fear. When you feel out of control, it triggers that same reflex as falling. At some point in trading, if you haven't figured it out already, you have no control over what the thing you're trading is going to do. Whether it's a stock, an index, a commodity, whatever it is, you have zero control over what it's going to do. When you commit yourself and your opinion and money into a trade, you are committing yourself into something you have zero control over. And this is where people get in trouble, because if it turns on you and starts to do something that you didn't anticipate or you were afraid might happen, it can trigger that reflex and it freezes you. It freezes you. It triggers a startle reflex and it freezes your ability to respond to it. And in many cases, you'll hear people talk, if you haven't done this yourself, you just haven't traded long enough. You'll hear people talk about or say things like, in response to, well, why did you let that happen? Or how did that trade happen? And the response comes back something along the order of, I don't know. I couldn't help it. I couldn't stop. There was nothing I could do about it. Tell me right now if you can relate to that, please. I just want to, if you can relate to a time when you're trading where suddenly you felt out of control and you literally watched a trade do something, you could have done something about it. You could have got out, but you didn't. You could have changed your strategy, but you didn't. You wound up watching it go right through to expiration and felt like there was nothing you could do about it. And I'm hearing, perfect. Yes, definitely. Oh, yeah, a bunch of times. Okay. Guys, this is a universal type of experience. If something catches you off guard and continues to trigger you, it can freeze you. So just like the punch that knocks you out is the one you can't see in trading, when you get hit with something that you were not expecting or that catches that startle reflex, it can trigger that same response and literally lock you out to where you can't do anything about it. You literally watch yourself go through something afterwards thinking, why didn't I get out? Why didn't I knew I was supposed to. Why did I sit there and watch that thing? Okay. That's reality. Okay. So some of the elements that I focus on in my training, and this is going to be high level today, but the things to combat this so that you don't get triggered, you don't get caught off guard, you don't have something that catches you and triggers that startle reflex. These are basic elements. It's not by no means, this is not everything on the list, but these are the basic components you have to have. You have to have the proper trading setup. In other words, before you ever make the trade, you've got to have a proper trading setup. And there's a lot of elements that go into that. You've got to have a mental checklist. You have something that you go down to make sure that you are ready to trade. You have to understand the tripod principle. Whether you trade in a group of 3 people or not doesn't matter, but at least you have to understand the tripod principle. And the last is you really need to be comfortable with and settled with the serenity prayer. And if you don't understand what that is, we'll explain it. But some of you probably already know. Okay. So let's talk about the proper trading setup. First of all, anytime you do a trade, you better have a clear target objective, and you better have a reason to trade. Now, we're going to demonstrate this a little bit later today. And we'll go over that just so you know what I'm talking about if you're not sure. But you have to have a clear target. You have to have a reason to trade. I use a ratio. It's a minimum of 3-to-1, but I prefer a 4-to-1 ratio. And that is a risk reward ratio. The risk reward ratio should be a 1-to-3 or 1-to-4 ratio. For every dollar of risk, there should be a legitimate $3 to $4 of upside in the trade, or it's not worth doing the trade. If I don't have 3 to 4 times the upside of the risk that I'm willing to take, I'm not interested in the trade. Now, you risk $100, you can make $100. That somebody maybe could construe that to be a good thing, but not to me. I'm not buying that. If I'm going to risk $100, there better be $300 or $400 of upside to justify that. Okay. And there's all kinds of statistics to back this up. You know you're not going to hit every single trade. And so the question becomes, and this is a whole exercise I won't go through, but I'll just mention it. There's a whole exercise of statistics that you can go through to find out if, for example, you had 3 trades go in your favor and 1 go against you, would you make money? 3 trades go in your favor, 1 goes against you, would you make money? How many things? Well, let's do the 4. If you had 4 trades that went in your favor and 1 trade went against you, my question is, would you make money? Not how much, but would you make money? I want an answer. Type in something. Feel free. Throw something out there. If 4 trades went in your direction and 1 trade went against you, would you make money? Sounds like a trick question. People are hesitating. It is a trick question, but I want you to tell me what you think. What comes to your mind? Would you make money if 4 trades out of 5 went in your favor? I'm waiting. As long as your reward to risk is right. All right. I like that. Linda says it's possible depending on how much you risk. Yes. Depends on what your profit and losses were. Yes. And Joe says yes. Okay. So it is a trick question. There's no question that, I mean, there was no question in my mind. It was a trick question because the answer is you don't know. The answer is it depends. Now, some of you have been with me long enough to where the answer to every question I ever ask you, ever, should be it depends. Okay. That's what I want. I want you to have that kind of mindset. So 4 out of 5 trades go in your favor. Are you going to make money? Well, it depends. And so the answers that were relative to it depends what your risk reward ratio is are correct. Guys, you can have 1 trade wipe out 4 good trades, can't you? It happens all the time. It happens all the time. If you don't have a control mechanism where your risk is relative to a ratio that is 3 or 4 times bigger, now if you have a reward risk ratio that is correct, you could have 3 out of 3 trades or 3 out of 4 trades, excuse me, 3 out of 6 trades. You could have a 50% accurate trading ratio where 50% worked in your favor, 50% went against you, and you could still make good money. You could have 4 out of 5 trades go in your favor. Excuse me, 4 out of 5 trades go against you and break even if your risk reward ratio is good. So how do you decide what that is? Well, like I say, there's a lot more to discuss on this, but essentially you practice, you do unfunded trades, and you find out if your reward risk ratio and your ability to have trades that work in your favor, in other words, your ability to read charts and have them go in the direction that looked like they were going to go, consistent. Maybe it's 4 out of 5, maybe it's 3 out of 6, maybe it's 3 out of 5. Whatever that is, you play around with that in your unfunded practice trades until you figure out, hey, this works for me. This works for me. This amount of risk, this amount of reward, with the kind of trading I do, this works. Well, then there you go. Now you got a formula. Now you go down to entrance conditions and exit strategies. So you've got a clear target, you got an objective, you got a reason to trade. It looks like it's going to do something. And if it does, it will make this much money. And if I risk this much and I have this much of a reward, it doesn't have to go very far before I break even and make money. And if it goes even halfway to where my target is, I'll make some money. Okay, that's great. So jump in. Yeah, let's do it. No. Now you set conditions. If then, what would it take to put you into the trade? Well, I like it right now. Okay, we'll define tomorrow. If it opens 3 points down or 4 points down from today, are you going to get in? Well, maybe not. Not if it opens down. I know, but you said you were ready to jump in right now. I know, but I didn't think it through. So, okay, give me the conditions. Okay, tomorrow, if it opens and it's still at where it's at, or if it's slightly higher and moving in the direction of my trade, I will get in. All right, good. That's an entrance. Then it kicks in the stops, which is your risk control. Your stops, your trading stops are now put in place. And you're targeted. You go to the exit strategy. And the exit strategy is either if the trade goes against you or if the trade goes in your favor. If it goes in your favor and you're making money, you still have to have an exit strategy. Not going to get into details, but you have to have one. Okay, that's part of the proper trading setup. Okay, so again, I'm not going into this is high level today, but this is a reminder, guys. And if you're reading this going, oh, dang, you're right. I kind of quit doing that. I'm slipping here. Good. Then this was a good class. It's a good reminder. Now let's talk about a mental checklist because you can have everything here ready to go. And I would still, if I was talking to you, I'd say, don't do it. Why? It makes so good. Don't do it. Well, why? I have a clear target. I have a reason to trade. The reward risk ratio is there. The entrance is hitting, and I have a good exit strategy. I'm going to get in. No, don't. Why? And now I might say something. Well, because you and I have been talking this morning, and I can tell you're distracted. You know, you're doing this, but there's something going on. What happened last night or this morning or yesterday? What's going on? And you might say, well, okay, yeah, you're right. I got a call last night, and somebody that I have been wanting to reconnect with. I was really looking forward to it. I had found out where they were, and so I sent out an email and said, "Hey, can we get together?" And the person basically said, "No, whatever you thought we had as a friendship, you remember you did this thing. I'm not interested. I don't want to talk to you." I've been crushed ever since. I don't know what happened. I don't even remember what they were talking about, but yeah, I didn't sleep last night but I'm ready to trade. I'm going, no, you're not. You know what? Just take the day off, go clear your head, go find something that validates you, that reminds you of how amazing you are and all the other good things, and let this thing blow over. And then come back tomorrow if you're in the right mindset. Guys, if you're not in the right mindset, you have no business trading because you will not be prepared to react when that punch comes that you don't see. When that trigger happens, when something happens that you're not expecting and you're distracted and you get caught off guard, you're going to be in trouble. And all the good plans go right out the window. It's just how it works. Trip, you can't say enough nice things. Guys, I just want you to know Trip Sawyer is one of my favorite people, certainly one of my favorite students. And to see him become an expert and not only as a trader, but as an instructor, teaching other people the things he's learned, it couldn't make me more proud. All right. Because I had something to do with that. I know I did. And I love what Trip just said. He said, your classes are always good. I either get a nugget or I get a reminder of something that I didn't realize I needed. Or in case of his earlier comment, he said, shoot, I'm slipping. I forgot that. Okay. Guys, repetition is the mother of skill. And to be constantly and focused constantly on becoming a student and learning in all conditions, always willing to be a student, always willing to learn. That's true humility. That is the right kind of humility. And so, Trip, I tip my hat to you. Thanks for paying attention and becoming as awesome as you are and still willing to be a student. I am. I love it. My hat tips to you. So let's keep going. Are you ready? Do you even know what that means? Guys, you should have a mental checklist. And if you go down that checklist honestly and you can't check off enough boxes, you've got to have the intelligence, the humility to say, you know what? I'm not going to risk it today. Instead of the ego driven, which is, no, I can handle it. I'm tough. I can handle it. I'm good. Rub some dirt on it. Let's go. Uh, Guys, there's a lot of money riding on this. And it's an emotional risk that could trigger a disaster, something you get hit by something you didn't see coming because you were too proud to realize I'm just not in it today. Guys, there's a huge amount of not only humility but intelligence to recognize, you know what? Not today. Not today. Walk away. But let's go do something else. And if we feel good tomorrow, then we'll trade. Yeah, if this trade isn't there, we'll do another one. There'll be another one. There's always another one. I would strongly suggest you have such a checklist. I do. I have 13 things that I recite every morning, almost every morning. Sometimes I forget, but I do it sometime during the day. But usually in the morning when it's quiet, before anybody has started to interrupt or interfere in my life, before I get on social media, which I don't even do, but before I get on the internet and start doing work and work related things and checking emails, in that quiet time, I meditate, I commune with my higher power, and I go through my checklist. I remind myself of who I am, what I'm on this earth to do, what I intend to accomplish, the things that I'm striving to overcome, the things I'm striving to become, and my goal for the day. And I remind myself of those things. And I go down that checklist. And if I feel good, I say, okay, I'm ready. I've put on my armor. Okay. I've got my helmet, my breastplate, my knee pads, my arm guards. I'm ready. And then I go. Okay. Before you trade, you should have some sort of checklist. Okay. Brenda says that happened to me the other day, and I did not trade because I was not focused on the job at hand. Brenda, I love it. Good job, my dear. That is really important that you grasp that. Okay. All right. So here's some things. Am I calm? Is there any drama in my life? Is the risk, or what's at risk today? Is there anything at risk today in particular if I am not on my game? Am I rested? Did I get enough sleep? Have I had some food? Guys, that's an important part of it. You need to know what the impact food has on you. Sometimes it has a huge impact on people. There's a famous study that I love quoting. I'll just summarize it for you real quick. In the Israeli penal system, there was a study that was done that was absolutely terrifying and extremely important. And that is, they realized that certain prisoners were getting released, they were getting paroled, where other prisoners who had the same sentence, the same conditions, they had served the same amount of time, and they were just as rehabilitated, and they did not get paroled. And they couldn't figure out why. So in this study, they started realizing as they watched over and over again and took notes and compared and did analysis, and they realized that it had to do with what time of the day you went before the parole board. And if you went before the parole board at a certain time with a certain condition, your odds of getting paroled were extremely high. It was like automatic. If you had the exact same conditions and you came before the parole board at a different time of the day, most of the people in that circumstance didn't get paroled. And I went, what the heck? And they started looking at what are the contributing factors? What are the common denominators? And you know what they figured out? Food. Food. If it was time where the parole board members hadn't eaten for 3 hours, almost 4 hours, they were getting close to lunchtime or getting close to the end of the day, your likelihood of being paroled went down 70%, as opposed to if they had been well fed and were now ready to go at 8:30 in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, same conditions, you got paroled. They went, oh my gosh. Just that cycle of getting to a point where the judges were hungry or the parole board members were hungry, it changed their willingness and their attitude and their decision making subconsciously. They didn't know it. And nobody knew it until they finally did enough analysis and realized, oh my gosh. So you know what they did? They started taking breaks. They would give them a snack mid-morning and they would give them a break every hour. And you know what? Across the board, more people got paroled. A good thing or bad thing? Well, if they were worthy of it, why get penalized and have to spend another year in jail when you were just as qualified as somebody who got paroled 3 hours earlier, right? And so these kind of things matter, and they're subconscious. You don't even know about it, but you've got to make sure, am I rested? Am I calm? Did I get enough sleep last night? Did I get something to eat? Does that impact me? Well, I don't know. It may be hard for you to tell, but for most people, it does impact them. Have I been sitting too long staring at this screen? Has it been an hour and a half and I'm just killing myself over this trade, will not move. And I'm trying to decide what to do. Well, you are just declaring to the world that you are nowhere near the mindset to be trading. You just need to shut it down and walk away. All right. Everything clear? Is your game plan in place? All of these things, there's a checklist. And mentally, as well as mechanically, you need to be prepared. Okay. Chip says, my brain works better in a fasted state. Okay. And that you need to know. Guys, I learned something that I didn't know. I didn't know that I share qualities or characteristics of some ADD, which I think that's a little controversial and misunderstood in a lot of ways. But there are characteristics that I didn't realize that I had until it was pointed out to me. I'm going, oh, you're right. Oh my gosh, I never. And so now that I know, I do things a little different and I get better results. There's something that I didn't understand is that, and I've always been critical of people who study with music on or they study with the TV on. I'm going, how could you do that? It's so distracting. You know what? I didn't know it, but that works for me. When I'm focused on a project, I will turn on a certain type of rock and roll. And my wife goes, how in the world? I said, I'm not listening to it. She said, well, I can hear it down the hall. I said, yeah, I know, but I'm focused. I am totally focused on what I'm doing, and it's not distracting me at all. Well, I did a little research on it and found out that this thing that I used to criticize people for is actually a characteristic of certain kind of personalities, where in order for me to focus, I need to distract other parts of my brain so that the part that I need to work on is not being distracted by the other parts that want to drift and it's the creative, the floating around. So when I put on this music, what happens is it gets this rhythm, the dum 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 dum, and I'm not bobbing my head or moving my hand, but my body gets into this rhythm and it occupies a certain part of my processing that I don't need or that interrupts and distracts from what I need to focus on. And with that distraction, it's like it's neutral. Yeah, it's noise there, but I'm not paying attention to it. That noise is occupying and distracting part of my brain functioning so that what I need now is unobstructive. And I get so productive and I can go for long times and be very productive. And I would have never thought that. It's something I learned as an adult, but it's true. And I don't know what works for you. I'm just telling you that there's things that you need to figure out. If you have some problems, you need to try to figure out why, what's causing it, what can I do different, experiment until you can find something that allows you to stay in a calm state, in a rested state. And for Tripp, the reason I brought this up, when you eat, you have a massive change in your neurobiology and your blood biology and the hormones that are excreted in your brain. So Tripp is saying, when I'm fasting, if I don't eat, he stays in a more steady state. I'm guessing, right? It's a more steady state where he can stay focused and not distracted because there's not major changes going on in his neurobiology. Is that right, Trip? He said, yeah, after about 55 minutes, I need a walkabout. He said, I need low volume classical music, preferably strings. Boom. You find what works for you, guys. You find out what works for you. And maybe that is what keeps the part of you that needs to be focused able to be focused, because it distracts other parts, or it puts you in a certain frame of mind. Jennifer says, that's really sad. I don't know what you were referring to. Something I said, but I don't, if I saw that at the right time, I would have known, but I don't know what that means, Jennifer. Anyway, maybe you can embellish or explain that. Okay, let's talk about the tripod trade that I talked about. Here's one more thing, and this also has to do with some of the mental, the psychology involved in trading. You may or may not be related to this. Jennifer said related to people not getting paroled. Oh, yeah. That was sad. But it was really insightful and really valuable to find that out, because then they changed and it became a much more fair system. Okay, so let's talk about this. Guys, if you are not familiar with this, I'm going to stay at a high level on this, but you need to recognize that this is proven out. I discovered this. To the best of my knowledge, I discovered it. I've never seen anybody write about this except myself. And some of you remember that this goes back, over a decade, when I figured this out, more than a decade. But this is incredibly powerful. This is a book that I'm going to write. I haven't written it yet. I need to slow down in my semi-retirement, because McGraw-Hill will definitely accept this, and I will write about this. But when you trade, there are three occupations, three different mindsets. When I say a mindset, it's not something you can choose. There's three different personalities or characteristics, attributes, mental attributes of different types of skilled individuals. People are either very detail driven, or they are high level visionary driven, or they're process driven. There's different things that people have natural abilities in. And so a person that is in a role or a job of being an accountant, a CPA, is not going to do well typically as someone that's a screenwriter, or some other creative process, even a football coach, not a football manager or a team manager, but the coach. It takes a certain personality to be able to coach people and to tell them what they need to do, to see what needs to happen, and to be in charge, and to be able to say, you go here, you go here, you go here, you go over here. Now, no, stop, come back. Okay, now go over there. That's a coach. That's not the same personality and skill set as a CPA, right? There are three different roles, distinct professions, if you will, personalities involved in trading. And it's never been fully developed in terms of how you deal with that and how you make that an advantage. It is at the heart of why people, as a general rule, don't trade very well, because almost nobody has equal skill in all three of those different capabilities, those different mental mindsets or mental strengths, where they're just in their intuitive attributes are a certain way. You'll be strong in one and maybe two, but nobody, at least I have never met anybody that's equal in all three. Okay. So what happens is that you'll have certain parts of your trading that you do very well, and you'll have other parts that sabotage you, and you won't see it. It'll be the punch that gets you that you didn't see coming. But they will sabotage you, because the other ones that are working make you feel like, well, I got this. And then you walk straight into your weakness. And all you do is you get mad, you kick yourself, say, oh, next time I won't do that. Well, wait a minute. Of course you will. In the same set of circumstances, you're not a different person. You will do the same thing. And you will wind up, like I jokingly say, walking around with a red spot on your forehead, because you're constantly, or at least on a regular basis, slapping yourself on the head going, dang it, why did I do it? Dang it, I did it again. And so you got this red spot on your forehead from slapping yourself, going, what's the matter with me? Can anybody relate to that? Can anybody relate to any level of frustration where you feel like there's certain things that keep coming after a year or 2 or 3 years of trading? There's certain things that just you can't quite seem to get past. That certain things keep happening, not all the time, but they just keep happening. Okay, and I'm seeing yes, yes, indeed, indeed, yes. Okay, that's because of this. There are some aspects in your trading that you're doing very well in. There's some that you don't have the aptitude to do well, but it's still necessary. And so when you hit certain circumstances, you're going to step in that hole every time because you don't have the aptitude to not do that. And not only that, you probably don't even know that. So how do you solve a problem that you don't know you have? Tripod trading, the concept is to recognize those three roles. Recognize that each one has a different skill set and attribute, and then figure out a way to have all three present. Yeah, but you just said that I can't. That's right, you can't. So how do you do that? Well, you can put things in place to compensate. Well, I'm not good at this part of it. I'm okay, I'm sorta, I can, I understand, but I'm not consistently good at it. Okay, great. Then put something in place that helps make sure that that happens. It could be a checklist. It could be a condition that sets up an alert that says, boom, this is happening. What's going on? Okay. What's going on? And then you can react to that. Or it might even be in the best case scenario, it's another person. You may trade with somebody who has a strength in one of the areas you don't. Wow, would that be fun? Well, yeah, it would be if you get along with that person. Rarely it is a husband and wife. Rare, very rare. It happens, but oftentimes there's other dynamics that make it difficult for them to trade as a companionship. But who knows? Sometimes it works, a lot of times it doesn't. But you may find somebody who shares your trading passion and has a strength in one of the areas that you don't. And you may find out that together you wind up making better decisions. You catch them on the thing that you're strong on that they're not, and they catch you vice versa. All right. But it doesn't change the fact that all three are required to trade well. So here they are. Somebody has got to call the play. Somebody's got to be able to look at the chart, look at the checklist, all the things, and go, you know what? This meets, this meets, this meets. Okay, here we go, guys. And they set the conditions. If this happens, we go in. You set your stop here. You do this, do that, do that, that. You lay the plan out. Great. Well, man, just let that guy go. No, no, no. Or we'll let that girl go. No, no, no. They may not be the best player. The player is the one who executes the play that the coach just called. A player sometimes looks like they are just making stuff up and doing it on the field and they're just magic. No, no, no. That's not what we're talking about. A player in this case is somebody who executes the plan, the play perfectly. This is where your accountant personality, your CPA personality, your scientist personality, your party planner personality. This is where this person shines because they love executing a plan. Now, maybe they're pretty good at making a plan, but they're probably really good. If they're really good at executing the plan, they're better at that than they are making it. There's certain people that you know that if you turn it over to them, it'll get done. Why? Because they love checking boxes. They love scratching things off the list. They love making it account balance out to the penny. They love that. They're going to follow the plan. They're not going to go, oh, you know what? Yeah, I know what it says, but I think we ought to do this. No, no. Now you're getting back into the coach mentality, who's always looking and seeing other possibilities. Well, maybe we'll do that. Okay, next time, let's do this. Okay, fine, next time. But don't change it in the middle of the play. Let the person execute the play. Okay? That's the point. It's a different personality. Then you have the observer. This is the third party. This is the third, guys. When you have 3 points, you have balance. The triangle, the tetrahedron, the triangle is the most stable geometric shape in the universe. It 2 points is a line, and it's not stable. 3 points establishes stability. 4 points is almost redundant. 5 points becomes redundant. You can get to a super stable structure with 3 points. It's the magic building block, the tetrahedron, the triangle. When you've got somebody who can call the plays good, you've got someone who can execute it perfectly. No matter what happened, bullets are flying, the storm is blowing, a tornado rips through the house in the middle of the trade, and they just follow the rules all the way. That's your player. Now the observer. What does the observer do? It looks like nothing. They observe. They watch the coach, they watch the player. All three of them agreed on a game plan before the enterprise began. It's not like the player is invisible, the observer is invisible, rather. No, the player and the coach know they're there, and they hope that they never hear from the observer. Because the only time you're going to hear from the observer is if something starts to go wrong. And all of a sudden, like the old joke or bit about Noah, and you hear the voice of God coming out of the sky going, Noah, and he startles and he jumps and he looks around, whoa, where'd that come from? So the observer comes out of nowhere and says, hey guys, put pause, just hit pause, just stop everything for a minute. What's going on? Something's not going on. Coach, what's going on? Player, tell me what's going on. And they talk about it. And they go, okay, so what do we need to do? You're right. Okay. All right. So if we get this, we'll be back on track. Yep. All right. Go ahead, do it. All right. Looking good. The observer fades into the background. And the coach and the player keep trading. And if anything goes wrong, the observer goes, whoop. They've got the kill switch. They can go, stop. What's going on? And this time, as they talk to the coach and the player, they're going, you know what, guys? They look at their watch. They go, you know what? Why don't you guys just take the day off? Go home, see your kids, see your spouse, go take a park, go take a walk. Like Tripp says, go on a walkabout. Just get up, walk away. There's no shame. It doesn't mean anything is bad. Something can be wrong and not be bad. It's not working. Well, then stop doing it. Mommy, it hurts when I do that. Well, then stop doing that. That's all. Nobody's bad. It's not like you have to walk away in shame. Everybody, all three go, you know what? The best thing for our enterprise, for our trading, for the thing that's important to us is probably just to shut this down today. We're going to get caught not looking, and we're going to get hit. It could happen. We wouldn't even see it coming. There's a day tomorrow. There'll be more trades tomorrow. Everybody go home, get some rest, shake off whatever this is, and let's meet back here tomorrow early. We'll do our checklist, and everything's good. We'll trade again. All right. Everybody slaps each other on the back, gives them a high five, thumbs up. See you tomorrow. And they all walk off happy because they did the right thing. There's a different mindset in each role, but all three of them have to work together. Could you get three people with strengths in each one of these and make an awesome trading team? Yes, you could. Oh my gosh, you could. Can an individual do it? Probably not, unless they do something to put mechanisms in place to compensate for the areas where they are not as strong. Again, this is high level. I'm not giving you a lot of solutions, but I am telling you, this is responsible for a lot of the mistakes and problems that you may have trading. Everything we've talked about today, proper trading setup, getting the checklist, making sure that you're in the right mindset to trade, going down the list, setting up and compensating for the different roles to make sure that you can plan properly, you can execute properly, and you can monitor. How do you monitor yourself? Well, you actually can, but it takes some doing. You have some rules set up, some functions set up that compensate for the fact that you won't do it on your own, but you can set up a plan that makes it happen for you. Guys, one of the things when people start to they move down the Alzheimer's dimension, one of the early things that people can do is when they're in the right frame of mind, they write themselves notes, recognizing in humility that, there'll be some times coming up, maybe later today, maybe tomorrow morning, I don't know, where I'm going to forget. There's certain parts of my brain that are not remembering as well as they should. So they write themselves, when they're in the right frame of mind, they write themselves some notes. And that actually works. That helps in the early stages. It helps people to remember. Guys, that's why we use calendars. That's why we use reminders on our cell phones or whatever you use. I find them tremendously valuable. Why? Because if I know that I've written something down on something in a mechanism that will remind me at the appropriate time, I don't have to carry it around trying to remember. Don't forget. Don't forget. I don't, and I do so much better because I know I've put it down where it will come up at the right time. And if it comes up, I'll respond. It'll happen. Everything's fine. Okay. That's one way of compensating for my lack of ability to remember 35 things stretched out over the next 2 weeks. I can't do it. Some people can, not me. So I've learned to compensate. That's all it is, folks. You have to find the roles, learn what they are, and then compensate where you don't. That leads me to the serenity prayer. But I will look back up here and let's see. Tripp says, I struggle as an observer for myself. Okay, thank you. Most people do. I trade so much better in the inner circle on Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. Why? Because there's accountability there. Okay. Tripp is smart enough to recognize that when he knows that there's others in the group, he trades better. That's because the observer, that role is being played by having other people aware of or able to see what he's doing. And that's phenomenal. Brenda said, could the observer be the same as the manager? No, never, never. Unless I don't know what you mean by manager. If you're comparing that to the team management, like in a sports team, then yes, if that's where you were going, they've got to be removed. They've got to be up in the box office. They're not overriding the coach or the players unless something significant happens. You don't want to micromanage. That's the worst thing you can do. But that person in that upper level, the observer, has got to know the game. They have the rule book. They were part of setting up the rules. And so they can see if something's going awry. The coach is in the middle of the emotion of trying to see what's going on and call the play. You can lose your way. You can get distracted. You can lose focus. The person who's not in your role that's standing back, that knows everything about it and is watching, is going to be the one who sees the coach get in trouble, not the coach. They're going to see the player not working, not the player. It's that interested third party, that vested third party, who can be neutral and objective. And they can call it out when they see it and put everybody back online. All right. So, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Okay. Beautiful concept. Very appropriate here. Find out the things that you cannot do anything about. I can't control which way the market, the stock, the index, the commodity, I can't control which way they go. Okay. So I'm not going to try. I'm not going to trade as if there's something I can do to impact the outcome. I can't. Okay. All I can do is to adjust my exposure. I can leave, I can reduce, I can add, but I can't change what it's going to do. The things I can do, I will. Of those three roles, I'm good in this one and pretty good in that one and not very good in that one. Okay. Then compensate. The principle that I learned and love from my martial arts is yield and direct. In the Aikido martial art, it's huge. Yield and redirect means that, as a general rule, I would never block a punch. I would never block a kick. There's no point to it. There's so much force. I would have to give it an equal and opposite force just to neutralize it, let alone push it out of the way. And in doing so, I may get hurt. Okay. I may get hurt. So why block it? Yield to it. Yield, it's attacking you. Yes. But by yielding, I gain advantage. By acknowledging that it can go against me, I'll let it come certain distance and then I redirect it. By yielding, I take control and I can redirect that energy. Okay? It's the same principle. I learned something when I was teaching. I was trained in wilderness survival, and I did for a number of years. I would take groups of anywhere from 80 to 100 plus teenagers with other support staff, and I was in charge of it. And we would take them out into the wilderness for about 4 days and deprive them of food and comfort and sleep, and put them through all kinds of what's called initiative games. And one of them had to do with rappelling, and most of them have never, looked over a 110-foot vertical cliff and tied a rope around their waist and leaned backwards over top of that. That's a freaky, scary thing. And yet we would talk them through that. And we'd put them through all kinds of very difficult emotional and physical challenges. And when we would finish, we would process. Every time they would finish one of those activities, we'd sit them down in a circle in small groups, let them relax, and start talking. And the subject matter of the talk was what? What happened? What happened out there? How do you feel about it? That's gut. What does your gut say? What does it feel like? What do you think about it? And then you would go to, so what? So what difference does that make? Does it make any difference? Does it really make any difference? And then it would finish up with, now what? So what do you need to do about it? What gut, so what, now what? When you go through and you process and an experience that was a real challenging experience, this is an amazing process. What happened? What happened? How are you feeling about it? Okay, so what? Was anything wrong? Imagine going through a trade. Go through this process at the end of a trade, especially if it was a kind of a traumatic trade or a significant. You made a lot of money or it cost you a lot of money. What happened? How are you feeling? You should be able to feel neutral. If everything that happened was part of the plan, even if it hit the stop and you jumped out, okay, how do you feel? Great. Why? Because I did the trade right. Yeah, but it cost you money. Yeah, so I was willing to spend that money to find out if the trade was going to work. Well, aren't you upset? Why would you be upset? I said I would. Okay, it's like, somebody wants $4 for a little scoop of ice cream. I've never tried this before. My friend says it's good, but I don't know. I'm not sure. So I give the person $4. They give me the little ice cream cup, and I taste it, and I go, yeah, I don't think I like that. In fact, I think I hate that. Now, I'm not going to throw it back in the face of the person who handed it to me. I'm not going to demand my money back. I'm not going to get upset. I'm not going to frown and shake my head and cross my arms and walk out of the store and knock over the snack rack on the way out. No, why? But you lost $4. No, I didn't. I spent $4 to do what? To try it. I knew that I might not like it. I might love it. It might be neutral, but it was worth $4 to find out. So what happened? I tried it. Didn't work. How do you feel about it? Oh, I'm so mad. I could just, no. That's a problem, right? Then the so what? Did you do anything wrong? No, I didn't do anything wrong on the trade. I did everything right. Okay, so what? Do you need to change anything? Actually, no. It was actually a perfect trade. It cost you $2,000. Yep. How's that a perfect trade? Because that's exactly what I said I was willing to spend to find out if this trade would work. So it's a perfect trade. So what needs to happen now? Nothing. Just go to the next trade. Right? You see? It can go to where what happened, gut, oh my gosh, I'm feeling terrible. Really? So what's the problem? So what happened? What's going on? Well, I messed up and obviously I'm not in the right mindset. Okay, so what do you need to do about it? All right, you're right. I didn't go through my checklist and it caught me off guard. Okay, I get it. Okay, so next time I will go through my checklist and I will process. And then when it's done, we'll go through this again and see how I did next time. See, guys, that's it. That's the process. These are the elements of the process. There details. Oh my gosh, there's lots of details. But if you are going to engage in trading and you do not want to have this happen, then you start here and you get the right setup. You have the right mental conditions, the mindset in the right condition. And then you make sure that you are able to function in those three roles and or compensate for the ones that might not be your strong suit. You recognize who you are. I'm a really good coach. I'm a semi-good player, but I'm not a good observer. I'm a really good observer. I can follow the play pretty good, but I really struggle because I'm not always sure what to do. I can't see the pattern correctly, at least not with confidence. Okay, fine. Then you have to compensate, but at least you're being honest with yourself. And then perspective. The things I can't change, don't spend your time. Guys, I love the phrase that says, never try to teach a pig to sing. It wastes your time and it annoys the pig. Right? If you can't do anything about it, quit beating your head against it. Yield and redirect. That's something that is not a skill set to me. I'm not really strong in that area. I'm strong in other areas. Okay, that's yielding. That's acknowledging. That's recognizing. Okay, I get. Okay, I get it. I yield to that. But I'm not dead. So you redirect and you move somewhere else. You move from somewhere else. You go where you can and you compensate. And then periodically you process, especially if there's a traumatic trade. And guys, making a killing on a trade is a traumatic trade. It can get you seduced into spiking the ball in the end zone and getting cautious or getting not cautious, right? Getting cocky. That's the word. What? Got so what? Now what? And then next. And guys, there's my class. I hope you got something out of it today. As Tripp said, maybe it triggered something that you needed to be reminded of, or it was a light bulb that went off, or it was something you've heard 4 times or 5 times, and this time you feel like, okay, I got it now. I got it. I got it. I got it. Wow, I just needed to go over that one more time. Whatever it is, I hope you got some value out of it, guys. That's all I got for you. I hope you have a great day. God bless, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.